Hi, you're watching a special recording session of Agenda Awani on the sideline of the second annual Big Data World Show for Malaysia. How do you harness the power of big data for Asia, for Malaysia? That's what I'm going to discuss in a few series of recording with great big data people who's available because of this particular World Show. So I'm going to introduce to you Matt Brandwine from Cloudera. Cloudera is a very exciting company because it started about 2008 and it looks at big data straight away. So for those of you just like me, prior to this World Show, I have limited knowledge of big data. So I'm just going to get Matt to rewind a bit and go to the basics, like preschool for big data. And you know, we do know for sure that in this modern world, there are billions of devices that records, capture, and generate data. And a lot of this data are networked around the world. And I'm sure a lot of people in Malaysia also are quite familiar with cloud, especially the recent hacking into the cloud, and some interesting photos get to go around. So, but if you can just give to us, why is it important to look at big data as a specific industry? If I can imagine it, you know, if you were agrarian before, and if you're looking at the industrial side of industry, so you must clear land for factories to be built, and then you must have infrastructure for your products and goods to move. So do we have to go into that particular lens to see why we should be in big data? Because otherwise, you know, we know there's data around, but you know, it's haphazard, it's in silo, and we're not approaching it right.
Fantastic question. So just to start perhaps a little bit of background on Cloudera and where we come from, and the story of the company is actually instructive for exactly what you're asking about. So Cloudera is a software company, first and foremost, based in California, Silicon Valley. We were founded in 2008 by employees of Oracle, Facebook, Google, Yahoo, to help every organization gain value from big data.
Okay.
And to your point, like the Industrial Revolution, we're in the middle of a shift right now in how humans relate to data. What is our relationship with data? And there's a number of factors underlying that. Just like the Industrial Revolution was not just technology, it was societal factors that contributed to it and created this momentum. So possibly first and foremost, the fact that we're now more connected than we've ever been before, because of technology, but also because of how we've changed as a global culture. So with the advent of the internet, it's now possible for people to stay in touch constantly. And this creates more data, but it's actually not just the humans. It's not like we've all suddenly just started typing more, and this creates big data. It's the fact that all of the machines that we use to contact each other are now also instrumented to create vast amounts of data that tell us about those communication channels. You've also got the fact that you've got a new generation, as we were talking about earlier, who are now raised on the internet, now have expectations that their work life, like their personal life, will be highly instrumented online.
And to them, big data is routine.
They don't even think about it as big data. They just think about how
you must be there for
technology exists. Right? I expect to be able to get online instantly wherever I am and have the mobile device guide me. Oh, is there a restaurant over here? I was walking around KL last night. Where should I have dinner?
So your smartphone will tell you that.
Yeah, well, you hope so, right? But these are new expectations, right? And it translates into the work world as well, where I'm trying to pick which components do I put into my part schematic, where should I build my next farm. All these things we expect now to be told what to do. And just also the global economy is now evolving at such a rapid rate that it's no longer acceptable, as it was in the past, to wait 1 or 2 years for a project to complete before assessing its effectiveness. You now, if you take a look at the companies of Silicon Valley, there's now a desire to move fast, fail fast, and learn. And that iteration cycle requires new approaches in people management and in change management to resolve and experiment more quickly. And fundamentally, what we've seen through all of this is that data is now the raw material powering the global economy.
So sometimes it's not totally reinventing the wheel, but I would like to look at new thinking behind it. Like you just said it plainly, but I guess to a lot of people here and a lot of places around the world, failing is not an option. But in Silicon Valley, I keep hearing this. If I'm a venture capitalist, if I'm looking to fund the next biggest startup, the next Google or Facebook or YouTube, I won't trust this particular person or group of people if they haven't failed before.
Right.
Because failure is, like the rites of passage.
It's how we learn.
And big data is helping to give us, or at least big data analytics, is helping us to make it more palatable to look at failures, because we will have the metrics. We'll maybe be able to analyze it step by step, for example.
Information-driven decisions as opposed to just gut feel. And not that information can empower every decision, but right now a lot of organizations have no data backing how they decide to grow their business, for example, internationally. So all of this presents a tremendous opportunity, but there's also challenges. So, for example, to your point, why hasn't, or this is, are we reinventing the wheel? When you take a look at how the data center, how IT is set up today, they're aware of all of these shifts. But the way that IT is built today, it's built around solving specific problems for specific business units. There's no global view of data. So if you're just going to open the hood and look in the engine, what you really see are systems in silos, where each system, for example, the marketing department versus the sales department versus the manufacturing department, each department has a limited view of data, and that data is only available to a limited set of users. So if you're an analyst, you know how to use a business intelligence tool. I'm not that smart. I just know how to type something, like I want the Google experience. You and I have to use completely different systems, and there's no information shared. And IT has to make decisions up front about which data they put into which system, which requires them to, again, understand up front what you need versus what I need. And if they get it wrong, we're both unhappy, they're unhappy. But that is just the world we live in today. And on a massive scale, it's actually much, much harder. It's much, much worse. Because those systems are already crumbling under the weight of all this data. So it's this...
We have to change anyway, that's what
it has to change.
Okay, I have to go for the first commercial break, but once we are back, what I'm trying to understand is, actually, like it or not, because most of us, if not all of us, we are already using computer systems and servers. But before this, maybe in the 20th century, we're just looking at the hardware part, who's going to supply it, what's the software that's going to run all this. Yes, I know it's going to be for specific desktops, but the one that would collate everything together, then I look at bigger server solutions for the servers, for example. And if I'm in total operations, I might just need, Microsoft Office. So I don't know whether I've gone around the bush too much there.
No, that's perfect.
But that's roughly what we're going to talk about after this.
When we come
Hopefully
back, absolutely.
Matt can help us with that after this. Hi, you're still watching a special session of recording of Agenda Awani on the sideline of this big data meet. I think it's the second one. It happens annually, but I'm here still with Matt of Cloudera, and then 360 degrees view. It's not a new thinking. A lot of people say CEO, and then they have chief information officers to look at all this. But maybe finally now, with big data analytics and big data enterprise solutions, you have the ability to really do it practically and, put all the marbles in one, and then you can see it.
Right, absolutely. I mean, when we left off, we were talking about some of the challenges that IT has, and the good news is that about a decade ago, Google had the exact same challenges. Their problem was they needed to store in one place the entire internet, because their product was search for the entire internet. And how do you do that? There's no technology available to do that, but you want to, if you want to think about it, give the world a 360 view of all information everywhere. That was the foundational problem. And they had to invent an entirely new approach for doing it, where you could store all the data in one place and then access it in many ways, because once you've got the entire internet stored, you don't want to keep making copies of the entire internet for every new use case. So they invented this new platform, and Cloudera is really founded to bring that platform to the world.
Okay.
And what we call our platform is we call it an enterprise data hub, which, to your point about 360 view, is built upon the notion of getting all your data, all of an organization's data in one place for as long as you want, cost effectively. So you no longer need to make rash economic decisions about what to keep and what to throw away.
When you say all, this means all. It's like hardcore IT operations, day-to-day
Right.
employee input into Microsoft Words or whatever it is. Everything.
It could be
payroll,
anything. Yeah,
HR.
and it's not saying that you have to put everything in one place, but to our conversation during the break, IT wants to get out of the business of being the enemy.
Okay.
Right now, they have to tell the business, no, I can't give you what you want because I don't have it, or I have it, but I can't give it to you because it's not formatted the right way. And they're the people of no. And the business needs this information. So if you have more information in one place and you break down these silos, it's now easy for IT to give that information freely to the business, and that's incredibly valuable. We can talk about use cases, but we talk about telecommunications companies trying to give better recommendations of products and services to bundle together. That's not possible unless you can see the customer data combined with the product and service data, combined with the usage data, combined with the telemetry data about where the phones are. All this has to come together, and traditionally IT would look at those as separate business units.
Okay.
So because the technology enables customers to get all that data together and then serve it up to those different people, and actually the true end state of all of this is actually not even traditional analytics. It's now what we call operational analytics, which is taking the advanced analytic models and actually promoting those into production use directly. So when you have your mobile device and it says, oh, I see where you are, have you thought about getting coffee at this cafe? That's actually big data at work.
Yes.
And you don't think about yourself as an analyst.
Yes.
Because you're not actually interacting with a chart or an Excel spreadsheet. But the company is actually using big data analytics to push that insight directly to you. And that's only possible because they can combine these silos together and then very, very quickly and cost effectively push those insights out to you.
I want to go more into the application of all this, but before I go there, maybe it's good to take one step back, and there's this structured data and unstructured data. There's this machine information, and there's human information, So can you make that simple for us? Because if I want to keep the audience keep on listening to this, whatever it is, we keep generating data. Even if we don't intend to, the things that we have set up, like if we have set up webcams around Kuala Lumpur, it will capture images. It will store them somewhere. But to make value out of it, we could see a whole pattern of sunlight and sun up for a whole year, and see patterns of people moving across A to B to C to D, and maybe you can make something out of it. So it's not just collating data into one place, it's how those data can be interactively linked, and then how do we analyze and make sense of it? At least I see it that way. How do you see it?
I agree completely. I think approaches of the past really focused on just the facts and the figures. It only gives you a partial view. It's like a person who only has a left brain versus a right brain. You need both sides to be a complete human being. In the same way, businesses need to have both left and right brain views of things. And really the new world is enabling them to incorporate new kinds of information to enable better decision making. So the example you gave is a great one. Another one, we have a customer who is using this technology to solve the problem of world hunger, ultimately, by optimizing crop yields, which is a hard science problem. But to do it, they actually need to incorporate many kinds of data that weren't attainable before. So they're going to take information on soil samples, information on sort of crop yields per particular plots. They're going to take weather pattern data. They're going to take genomics information about the seeds. They're going to use that to ultimately optimize which seeds get planted where. And that is non-traditional data that they're looking to bring together. You talk about back more in the consumer sector, being able to recommend products and services to people based on their likes and dislikes. That's something you couldn't do before because there was no way to bring in the human factor of what do you like, what do you dislike. And it's not like we have a giant database of what you like and what you dislike. It's how it comes across in your social interactions, the things that you write, the people you talk to. And we can take all those things and correlate them together to figure out a better picture of who you are as a consumer.
Yes. I have to go for the last break, but once we are back, what does this mean to people like you and me, laymen that walks the street, go to work, come back home, for example? Because at the end of the day, this will still involve costs. This will maybe beg for policies to be changed and new policies to be formulated. So people in the democracy needs to, vote for all this or think about all this or be the recipients of all this. So why should this be looked upon as something that we need to do and we need to do fast? One thing for sure, if data's already laying out there somewhere, why not harness it and mine it and make it useful? That's one. But secondly, we need to put resources to this. So if we were to put resources to this and maybe pay Cloudera and not build one more school, for example, it's a very, very crude one, but we do have to choose to put resources into this. And Malaysia is going a big way, policy-wise, into big data analytics. So what would be it for the layman, apart from the normal consumer stuff? Because can it make our health better? Does it solve all our current problems like traffic jams, for example? Energy, we want to be more sustainable, we want to be more green, we don't want to release more CO2, for example. It has to be practical, because I guess this is not an entire new industry for its own sake, but it's making whatever we have better. So let's look at that after this, because that might need a whole slew of mindset from the top right up to bottom, or it's like, as we like to say it nowadays, from the grassroots up. So right after this break. You're still watching a very, very interesting sideline of a conference discussion. I'm at the Big Data Meet here in Shangri-La, Kuala Lumpur. I'm still here with Matt. Matt is from Cloudera. He studies, mathematics and computer science, big stuff. And now he has that skill to work for a big data analytics company like Cloudera. But we're moving on now, and I guess the layman on the street, what's in it for us? Yeah, I know it's going to make more analysis, more mining of data, linking things, but can it really be put to the task to solve real issues like poverty, like climate change, and the different yield that we have nowadays because things are changing, shifting? Can it solve the depletion of our forests? Can it also ensure that the next time you visit Kuala Lumpur, the traffic jam can be halved, for example? So would you share with us, stuff that Cloudera has been, or even outside that, where the application of big data, Malaysia is not at the forefront of this totally in the world, but we're not at the back either, And I was surprised at one of the presentation, the guy said that, hey, you're lucky. I'm from German, and even the German government is not looking at this as much as Malaysian government, and it's like that's going to create havoc with a lot of people, because here in Malaysia, German is supposed to be precise in all this scientific stuff. So if you can coin all that, solve Malaysia's problem for us, please, through big data analytics.
Well, it's interesting. I work for a technology company, but technology is actually one of the last things that organizations, governments need to think about with relates to transformation. You talk about the comparison between some European countries and here, like we were discussing. It turns out that being extremely far developed can actually work against you, because you've got a status quo to maintain. One of the reasons that Silicon Valley works so well is that there are no rules. Or Google wouldn't have invented this technology if they had said, oh, well, it's impossible, so there's no point in trying. I'm not even going to do it. They said, well, what if there wasn't any restraint, and say they were able to innovate? But to your question about the practicality, the impact to Malaysia, I think actually one of the misconceptions about big data is it only solves these innovative problems. It only solves new problems.
Not practical problem.
Well,
it does actually.
So it's actually a spectrum of things. Most of our customers actually get started with the fundamental premise of saving money. Oddly enough, there are traditional ways to do things, to store data, to process data very quickly. It turns out that with Hadoop, the technology upon which our platform is based, you can do all those things for an order of magnitude less money.
Okay.
So when you get into budgetary controls and expenses, the government and organizations can save lots of money to then go apply to new problems. They can optimize their existing business processes. So you made the comment about choosing between buying Cloudera or paying for another school. I would never hope that that's the case. In fact, you would save money on the budget so you can afford more schools, and you can use the technology to make better decisions about which schools to place where, which communities need that kind of education the most by using social data and economic data to optimize that decision. But at the far end of the spectrum, I'd actually bring it back to science.
Okay.
One of our co-founders, the gentleman from Facebook, Jeff Hammerbacher, he actually left Facebook because he wanted to solve the bigger problems. He's actually fascinated with healthcare, and he actually now spends most of his time as a professor of bioinformatics at Mount Sinai Medical School in New York City, solving problems related to genome analysis and bioinformatics. And the idea is that, as I mentioned at the beginning, data is the raw material of science. If you have more raw material, you can do more science, and if you have faster processing techniques, you can do more science faster.
Yes.
And so from the perspective of the future, I would be looking at how can we enable our educational institutions here to train the next generation of scientists and engineers to use this technology to make optimal decisions faster. And maybe one other comment is it actually turns out that we see the same thing as our colleague that presented earlier. Actually turns out that Malaysia is one of the leading consumers so far of Hadoop-based technologies.
Are you sure?
In Southeast Asia, yes.
Okay.
We looked at our customer data,
right.
and it turns out that there are actually more customers in Malaysia than in any other.
Before I ask you what's the presence of Cloudera here and how you're looking at the business here, because I remember a lot of developing nations, I guess, Malaysia included, the bulk of our businesses, they are small and medium enterprises. So remember years back when we wanted them to migrate to the computer system and internet and broadband, point of sales and stuff like that.
Right.
So to them it's cost. Because I'm doing fine with the traditional way of counting and writing out a receipt and giving.
But it's scale, right? And, Malaysia is a vast country with a vast population. And to industrialize, it really means how can I take that population and sort of bring them forward into the new level of service that the European powers, for example, are accustomed to. And one of the things you have going for you is with all these people, there's a lot of data that can be leveraged very quickly to build a better picture of your population.
Okay, cool.
And so even these small, medium businesses will need this kind of technology to help them. Even if you're a small retailer, your addressable market is the entirety of Malaysia.
And you can scale it. You don't need to buy a whole sophisticated
You can do that, but you can also run it in the cloud. You can buy it as a service from other providers. There's many ways to get started.
Big data analytics work with other stuff that IT has thrown our way. Can I say
it works?
That way?
It works within everything you've already got. So if you already understand how to use the basic technologies, it fits right in there and complements everything you've got.
So it doesn't need like $1 million investment or something in that sense?
It doesn't. In fact, the majority of the technology is free to get started with. So it's very easy to adopt.
Because you've been so helpful, going to preschool big data analytics explanation for us right now until now. How would Cloudera want to be present in countries like Malaysia right now?
We want to help however we can, because it's good for both your economy as well as for ours. And so where we really want to help is figure out what are the fundamental ways that we can help transform infrastructure. That's really where you see the most transformation. So how can we help education? How can we help financial services? How can we help healthcare where it has the maximum impact on the population? Small medium businesses are interesting. They will benefit eventually, but there are fundamental challenges to address.
Wouldn't that open up a new, because I always like talking about the information age. I have 1 minute left, but it opens up new opportunities. Like the younger people or even old people here can go out, look at this discussion. Hey, I can be that bridge. I can be that interface. I can create new companies which complements what Cloudera is doing. And network you to the health sector of this country, or network you to the education sector. Would that be an opportunity for wannabes technopreneurs out there?
If I can speak directly to kind of the future youth of the country, if I was going to invest $1 million right now, it would absolutely be in applications that sit on top of platforms like ours. The market for big data technologies is emerging, but the real opportunity is for the apps. If you think about it, like big data is like an iPhone,
Okay.
right? You've got multiple applications running on the same platform. And the applications is where the future is, because just an iPhone on its own is useless.
Yes.
The iPhone with applications for various purposes is amazing. And so when you actually take a look at the startup community in Silicon Valley, they're just getting started building apps for healthcare, for manufacturing, for retail. If you build the new global application that leverages big data technology for one of those markets, the sky's the limit.
And you don't have to start big. You can pick one area, be good at that, and then expand.
We've done a lot of the hard work making it scalable. All the technology limitations are gone. You can just start to innovate for the region, for the problem.
There you go. Thank you so much, Matt, for making time. I'm going to check out Cloudera and see how we can help, make Cloudera and the Malaysian technopreneurs get together. We've met exciting next generation technopreneurs here. I must bring you around KL. You can't fly back without meeting them. But thank you so much for making time.
My pleasure.
Thanks to you for watching the show. As usual, you can, give your own feedbacks through a lot of platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or just download iOS and Android applications of Awani. You can watch shows like this live on your favorite mobile gadget. That's all for now. I'll catch you in another episode very, very soon. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.